everyone, my name is Matt Mitchell, and I'm the owner of Mitchell Event Planning. I'm a master certified wedding planner and ambassador through the Bridal Society, which is the leading wedding planning certification program in the world and the largest membership of certified wedding planners and venues. We at the Bridal Society know how important hiring an educated wedding planner or coordinator is. The Bridal Society is a wedding planner lifestyle membership and certification program focused on raising the standards in the industry and ensuring that all couples have an opportunity to have the wedding day of their dreams. Today, we are back for episode 6 of It Takes Two. If you missed last month's interview with Billy Birch, be sure to check it out. I'll link it above and include the link in the show notes below. Speaking of missing an episode, be sure to subscribe to my channel and select the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Today, I'm talking to Brandi Sisson, owner of Brandi Sisson Photography. Welcome, Brandi. How are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I am doing well. It's a little chilly this morning, so don't know about you, but my little limbs get cold, so I have a little heater under my desk so that stays on this time of year.
Love that. Yes, it's cold. It is, but I'm getting excited for it to be cold because that means Christmas and then, a
Yeah.
little time
So
off, which is nice.
exactly. So tell me a little bit. I know we've worked together several times before, so I know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
So you've got some kiddos on your side, so I'm sure this time of year is super exciting.
So fun. Yes, we have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, both girls. So we're gearing up for Christmas break, which is going to start this week. And I just love this time of year with kids. It's so fun.
Yes. Any like awesome traditions that y'all do every single year with them?
Well, we always cut down our own tree, which is nice.
Really?
We drive up to, the Carolinas where they have like the really nice trees and
Yeah.
we cut them and bring it home. And that's always a really fun treat for them. And just getting to see family and stuff is always just like the best. Cause since, as you know, working weekends, I don't really get to celebrate a lot of things like holidays or birthdays or whatever. So it is always nice to have this time to be with family.
Yeah. Now you mentioned cutting down your own tree. Tell me it's not like a National Lampoon's thing, right? It's a little bit better than that.
It's a little bit more controlled. They have, sizes and pricing and all that stuff.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing about that. So let's switch gears to tell a little bit more about your company, though. So tell me about your photography business.
Sure. So I've been in business for 11 years. I started just kind of on a whim. I didn't really know where it was going to take me or really even had a plan. I just started taking photos and people started hiring me and I was like, wow, this is great. About, I'd say like 3 months into actually starting the business, I shot my first wedding. It was very interesting. I will say I probably wasn't quite ready yet, but they also, it was kind of the best case scenario for that because they didn't have a big budget and I didn't have a lot of experience. So we really meshed well in that area. So that was really my break into the wedding industry. And I've been doing it ever since. I love it. I've obviously gotten better, hopefully. since
Yes,
then.
your
And,
work is amazing.
Thank you. But then let's see, 4 years ago, my husband joined me. So now we do weddings together. He'll do video sometimes, but mostly photo.
Okay, awesome. So like as a second shooter type thing?
Yes. So
Awesome.
we work as a team, which is always nice because he carries my gear,
Yes.
drives me home.
Oh yeah. It's like golfing. You have your own caddy, right?
Yes, I'm like, can you grab my flashes?
So
Yeah.
you touched a little bit on this. So and maybe there's not a reason, that's totally okay too. But is there anything that inspired you to kind of enter the wedding industry?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, not really. I never even thought about weddings. We had a big wedding. Loved our photographer. We got married in 2007. So obviously the wedding industry has changed a lot since then,
Hmm.
with the development of social media and everything. So when we paid a pretty standard price now for our photographer then, which was pretty high back then, but I would say that was like such that was kind of like my first real experience with weddings was my own. Like I didn't really know
Right.
how it all worked. And so when I was shooting just families, I got one of my longtime family friends was like, "Hey, my cousin's getting married. They really can't afford much. What would you be able to offer?" And I just was like blown away that somebody would want me to be at their wedding, even though I'd only really been officially shooting for a couple months. I was just like, oh my gosh, yes, please, please, please. So there wasn't really like any thought behind it or like planned up to that point, but it was just like the opportunity arose and I was like, yes, I will do that. So that's kind of how I started.
Nice. Okay, that's very interesting. So then I bet you probably have a good answer to this one. So because it was kind of a just a whim that you ended up in this industry,
Yeah.
what's one thing that you or a few things that you would have known before you jumped in? Is there anything that you wish you would have known before
Oh
getting
man. I
knee
mean,
deep in weddings?
yeah. So I feel like I feel like now because I have been doing it for 11 years and I do shoot about 40 a year. So
Wow.
it's a lot. Yeah. So now I'm like pretty prepared. I feel like going into each day I can pretty much expect or like kind of know what to expect for the most part. There's always
Yeah,
moving parts. But
sure.
yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. When I first started, I I didn't know really anything about how to plan the day, how to do a timeline, and how important actually it's funny because it's really important to have a relationship with the other vendors that work the day
Yeah.
because we rely so much on each other that it's um our jobs depend on other people's jobs being done well. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I would definitely say that I wish I kind of before I really jumped in would have like known how to work well with like not work well, but like work more personally with the other vendors just so that we could keep the day going smoothly and everything like that. But of course we've learned that over the years, but at first it's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, well, since we're on that track, I was gonna kind of ask you some of those questions later on, but we're there, so let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So I agree, 1000%. We are a vendor team, though it's comprised of a lot of different companies, right? A lot of, I mean, I would probably say that couples on average have 8 different vendors
Yes.
between, venue, catering, I mean,
Mhm.
all the way from rentals and florals and things like that. So there's a lot of moving parts that go on. So you're exactly right. That connection, that communication is super, super important. And, like people being experts in their own lane really help in that space, right? Would
Yeah,
you agree?
100% agree.
Yeah. So like tell me tell me a time like has there ever been a time where you've walked into a situation that you felt like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to do something because no one knows what's going on here? Like
Yes.
as you as the photographer, have you had to step up?
All the time. Honestly, it happens more often than not, especially, I mean, I know we're talking a lot about like other vendors, but especially when there's not a coordinator or planner really falls on us to
Yeah,
make sure everyone is like ready on time or making sure that if there is any mishaps, like with a dress, which happens a lot, or
yeah,
like a groomsman missing a suit, just like making sure the day still rolls on without taking too much time away from like the actual important parts of the day because we do have to move things around a lot to make sure we're getting all the right photos but also
yep,
not we don't want to be too hands on where we're making the day all about the photos because that's not what it's about but sometimes we do have to rearrange just to make it work. So I definitely say like there's a lot of times where we get um, pulled in multiple directions. Whereas if there were a coordinator, a great planner that had already been planning out the day perfectly, we could focus more on just paying attention to the day, getting all the shots that are happening as they're occurring, rather than having to make sure we're like in 100 places at one time.
Yeah, I know probably one thing that stresses, and you please confirm, the one thing in my mind that probably stresses most photographers out is hair and makeup. Because I know that if they are behind,
Oh
we're
boy,
all
we're in
behind for the
trouble.
rest of the
Yeah.
day.
Which is true, and it's funny because like, and it's 100% an art. I have learned
Yes.
that over the years. I'm like, I never knew that hair and makeup could be such an art, but they have to have their time
Yep.
planned out as well, and making sure they have enough people for the amount of like clients that they're gonna have to do that day. So yeah, hair and makeup is like and I think too it's hard because it's like the beginning of the day. So you're like,
Yes.
if it goes off schedule, you're like, oh my gosh, the whole day. But
Yep.
yeah, I definitely feel that.
And sometimes it doesn't matter how much planning you've done, it can still happen. But
Absolutely.
we learn to roll with the punches
Mhm.
and get there. And I've had that happen before too. You know, we've already like pre-discussed like how many, like typically how long does it take you to do a hair and makeup session on a
Yeah.
person? Okay, let's multiply that by how many people, how many
Fair.
stylists and makeup artists are you going to have? And but still, things happen, traffic happens. We're in Atlanta,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so people can arrive late, or even not even the vendors arriving late, but like maybe a person in
Right.
the wedding party.
Yeah.
You never know. So there's tons of different scenarios that can happen, but and it's always good because I can make it up, and we do make it up.
We
But
do.
it's always like it's always funny to kind of fi- figure out like how can I get us back on track type thing.
Yes. And a lot of
But
times too,
sometimes I was about to say, but sometimes it falls on you. Unfortunately, sometimes we might have to cut out some photography things in order to get
yeah.
back on schedule, which
Yeah,
is
and a
a
lot of
sad.
times, which is great about having a second shooter, is that I can always be like, okay, I'm gonna focus on this. I'm gonna have you go get the guys, or go get the details, so that we are making the best use of the time that we do have. And it always works out. It's a wedding, so it's all a challenge sometimes, but
Yeah.
a lot of
So you just made a good point that I don't think I've ever asked a photographer, and I think it'd be beneficial for those that are listening. So what's some like best practices for hiring a photographer? Like in my mind, as a planner, I love it when they do have a second photographer.
Mhm.
And I love it when like they at least have you for anywhere between, I mean, 8 minimum, but I would love to have you for like 10 hours.
Mhm.
Um, what else is there's a couple other, but like what are some best practices that you would say for
Yeah.
people?
I love that. I mean, my package right now is 9 hours, which is like kind of right in the middle, just
Yep.
something that I felt like has been not too much getting ready shots, because not everybody's like wanting their photos when they
Right.
are not quite ready yet. But we still have that like hour to an hour and a half of like detail shots, them like hanging out, getting ready, that kind of thing, which I love. And then that 9 hours takes us usually all the way to the very end of the night. So that's like a full day coverage. I love that. Like you said, 8 to 10 hours is a great like
Yeah.
ballpark range. Another thing I would say is like to look really look at the photographer's full gallery, a full
Hmm.
wedding gallery, because what you're seeing on the website is always going to be like our best in show, the things that we love. But maybe you're looking for more details and you haven't seen that on their website or something. Like, you will get that full picture if you see a full gallery. So I think that's a really good um like thing to ask for when you're shopping around for a photographer.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you say that because I recently had a photographer send me one of their albums, and like of course the stuff that I had seen prior to was kind of just like the stage stuff, right? So just
Yeah.
like
The
getting
cover.
like all the formal pictures, right?
Uh-huh.
So the wedding party and all that, and they were beautiful. And now I'm not knocking this photographer at all, but the what I found interesting was the dance photos. They were like, it was more artistic than it was like actually capturing the moment.
Oh, okay.
So it was very interesting. I was like, I've never seen anything like this, but I wouldn't have known if I wouldn't have
Right.
seen the full album. So
Yeah.
it is very interesting. That's a good point, is like take a look at the full spectrum to kind of see like how do they document the day too, right?
Right.
So what's their style of documentation? Is it all posed, or is it
Mhm.
all kind of like, as are they a storyteller? Like what's their style type thing?
Yeah.
And style is not only in the editing, right? It's how you capture the moments too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great point. Just not really knowing how, like, because a lot of times what you do see on social media website will be like the pose shots or the ones that we've, curated at the moment, but more than half the wedding gallery will be candids or like other things that aren't being shown, like you hugging your grandma and stuff. And those are the things that are really important to
Yeah.
me, even though that's not really like standard to post on social media. But like I love showing people like this could be what your day looks like, just
Hmm.
as a full. So it's kind of nice so that people know exactly what to look for and what their wedding day is going to look like.
Yeah. So tell me, is there something like a myth that you want to bust about photography, maybe that you hear from
Oh.
clients as they interview you as potential vendor?
Yeah. Okay. So let's see, a pretty common myth, I think, then this might be heading out. So I'm happy about that. But there
Okay,
is
good.
there is something among like the moms, like the bride's moms. They always want to give us a shot list.
Oh,
And we don't really need that. I feel like
uh-huh.
right now is a great time. It kind of goes back to what I was saying about like looking at the whole gallery. It's like if you're hiring someone that you're comfortable with, you should know that they want to capture your day as authentically as possible. So giving them something to constantly be like checking off throughout the day is just another thing that takes away their attention from you. So I
Yeah.
think like, yeah, shot list is definitely one. Another thing is that we can shoot in all lighting, all weather. Like it doesn't have to be perfectly sunny outside or overcast. Like the day we can make beautiful photos in a dark space, even if we're forced to. So I think that's also another myth, that there has to be like this perfect location, perfect lighting, but it's not true. If there's rain on your wedding day, we can still make great images.
Okay, well, Brandon, let me stop you there. You can, not everyone can.
Okay,
So let me.
thank
So
you.
just like it's important to hire an experienced wedding planner. It's also very important to hire an experienced photographer, because you're exactly right. An experienced photographer can shoot in any condition. They know how to appropriately light
Yeah.
a setting. What angles they need. They know all of that, right? But I have worked with numerous photographers that all they rely on is the flash on
Uh-huh.
the camera. And I'm
Yeah,
like, okay,
it's helpful sometimes.
this is a huge room. You're
Oh
not going to be
yeah.
able to light the whole room with this little bitty thing. And I'm
Yeah.
not even a photographer. Um, so yeah, let's say that you know how to. So
Thank
make sure that
you.
you.
It's so
So
kind.
I would say, as you are interviewing, if you're a couple out there listening to this, if you are interviewing your people, ask about things like that.
Yeah. Also.
Especially if you've already secured your venue, you kind of know. I'm sure you've done a tour, so like you would know if it's kind of darker, if it doesn't have natural light that comes in. So ask your photographers when you're interviewing them, hey, are you comfortable in a dim setting, or what will my dance floor photos look like as we
Yeah,
dim the lights for the evening type
exactly.
thing. So all those are very important things. So
Yeah.
that's a good one. Now, let's talk about your accolades. So, I mean,
Right.
number one, I'll shout it from the rooftops. You do amazing work.
Thank
But what
you.
is one thing? What's kind of like the best compliment that you've received from? It doesn't matter. It could be a publication, could be a client, could be a colleague. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Oh, okay. Well, Actually, I mean, I think I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier too. It's like basically anytime somebody hires me for their wedding, I'm like, it's such an honor. Like, I
Yeah.
can't believe that I still get to do this after 11 years. Like, and it just gets better each year, like meeting more people and like all the changes that happen. It's just great. I love it. But um, more like on a more direct level and deeper level, and kind of sad too, but sometimes I'll hear back from clients saying like, oh, my grandmother passed away and the only photos I have of me and her together recently are from our wedding, and I just really want to thank you for those. And that is really where my heart is, where it's
Yeah.
like going to weddings and getting to see families fully together. It may be the last time that everyone's all together, or at least for several years. And by the next
Right.
time, there could be like babies and stuff. So it's like, it's very, uh, it's just such a great feeling to know that when we're entering your wedding day, we're really there for you and for your family. And we're capturing those things that could be a legacy and like for other generations to see that they might not get to see. So I think that's probably really what I love to hear is, I mean, not like that, but
No, I get you. Yes. Yeah,
like
I
all these
agree. It's so I mean, I think I mean, I'm not speaking for you, but like that's why so while I'll plan any you can what event do you want me to plan? I'll plan it for you.
yes.
But definitely I'm more attracted to and my passion is for weddings. It's just because of that personal connection, right? You
Yes.
you get to experience this very important day with not only a couple but for their entire family. And
Mhm.
it's those you get to share in those intimate moments with them with their family. You get to capture those moments and
Yes.
there they are. They're forever captured. So yeah, I think that's one thing that draws me to weddings too is those really sweet moments that we get to share in. And it's very different than any other type of event. Because
Oh, I agree.
like corporate events, it's very transactional. Usually that they
Yeah.
have those people have to be there. But but weddings, it sounds cliche, but it's pretty magical on
It
day of.
is. And we get a front row seat, and I think that's very special. It's such an honor, and like getting to see things that maybe even the bride doesn't get to see. And it's my job to make sure that eventually they get to see these moments that were happening throughout the day and being like authentic about it and capturing it in a way that's beautiful and meaningful, but also just like as a document. Like this is going to be something that people can look out forever. And I want to make sure that when I'm there, those are the things that I'm focused on. And so anytime somebody comes back and says, oh, I can't believe you got a picture of my dad smiling. He never smiles. I'm like,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's like Christmas every time that I get an email from you, and it's like wedding album ready, and I'm like, I can't wait.
yay.
So, yeah, awesome. Well, any kind of final notes you want to put out there?
Yeah. Okay. So I was thinking about this. And I talk to my friends a lot about this actually, because all my friends are photographers because we have such weird schedules that we're the
Yes.
only human beings that are off on like, available on the weekdays. So
Hmm.
we talk a lot about business, a lot about weddings, how to make how to do better for ourselves and the clients and vendors. And I think like one important thing is that for our job to be successful, or like for us to be successful at our jobs during a wedding day, we need two things: time and space.
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
need to make sure that we have enough time to be able to focus on the client and on the day as it's happening. But also we need like that mental space to be able to be like, okay, what is in this situation? What is the best placement? Where is the best lighting? How can we get them to interact with each other? And just like to be creative, we need time. And
Yeah.
so it makes such a difference to have a wedding coordinator, wedding planner, like a real wedding planner, not like your sister who, has planned her 16th birthday before or whatever, I don't know. But
Yep.
like these are the images that we come away from weddings that we're like, wow, I can't believe we were able to capture all of this good stuff. Those always come from weddings that have planners that are keeping people in line, having to put the work in beforehand, just like keeping up with vendors, making sure we're all set, we're all good throughout the day. It makes a world of a difference for your images and just for the day in general. And I think like when it's all said and done, everybody wants the clients to have a magical day. That's what we
Right.
want. But we also want to be able to give you images like to prove it, to share with your
Right.
friends, to remember. And so those are the things that we really need as far as like just making the day work. And a
Mhm.
planner makes that possible.
Well, that's definitely my intention, and it's
I know.
always such a pleasure to work with you.
You too.
So tell me, let everybody know, how can they get in touch with you, see your work, how can they reach out, all that.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Instagram. My handle
Okay.
is just my name, Brandi Sisson. And then my website's brandisissonphotography.com.
Okay, wonderful. And I'll also make sure to put that in the show notes below, so you can just click on it and get over to you. Well,
Thank you
awesome.
so
Well,
much.
I appreciate you so much
You
for
too,
joining
Matt.
me today. It's really
Yes.
been great.
Well,
So
thank you
if you're
so much.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say Merry Christmas.
Oh, you too. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Brandy.
All right.
If you're listening today and you're interested in earning your certification in wedding planning, the Bridal Society is the very best decision that you could ever make. The members of the organization feel more like family than colleagues, and the Bridal Society provides lifetime free membership once you complete your certification, which includes countless benefits. You can visit www.thebridalsociety.com for more information. To receive an exclusive discount, use MATT, M-A-T-T 125, and that will give you your exclusive discount code. Again, my name is Matt Mitchell, owner of Mitchell Event Planning. Join me next month as I interview another fantastic wedding professional.